Good evening. Welcome, everybody. I can see the attendees start to be admitted to the Zoom. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I know probably a lot of you are either 12th graders, maybe seniors in high school, or maybe you are a parent or relative of a 12th grader, or maybe even a younger student who is probably a student in California who might be interested in applying to one of our California public universities. We are lucky to have a lot of them. We have the CSU system, which there's 23 campuses, as well as the UC system, which has 10 campuses. We're going to kind of split our time today for the first half hour or so from about 6 to 6:30. We're going to be hearing from Matthew Hebert at San Diego State University Admissions Office, and he's going to be talking you through some of the CSU application features and some points about SDSU. And then we have Summer, who's here from UC San Diego admissions, and she's going to be talking about the admission application and process there. So I know what a lot of people would like to know is this going to be recorded or can I access it afterward? And yes, it's being recorded right now. In the chat, you'll notice that I put our calsoapsandiego.org website. We have a webinar and blog section where this will be posted by the end of the week. And also, if presenters are open to sharing their PDFs, we can also share those slides with you, but it depends. Every college has their own policy or protocol as far as sharing slides, so I will check with them. If you do have any questions, you'll see that you're not able to post them in the chat, but there is a Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom. And if you just go into Q&A, type your question, you can do it anonymously or with your name, either way. And I'm going to be monitoring that and we'll do our best to answer your questions. But we'll go ahead and start, and we are going to be starting with CSU, the California State Universities, and specifically our local university, San Diego State University. And so Director of Admissions Matthew Hebert is going to share his slides. And Matthew, I'll have you go ahead and take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Carla. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Matthew Hebert. I've been at San Diego State now for quite a while, so over 20 years, all of which has been in our admissions office. So I'm familiar, of course, with San Diego State, but tonight I also have my California State University hat on because we are 23 campuses strong in our system, and it's one application to fill out for any of the CSU campuses that you may be interested in. We have about 500,000 students currently in the CSU system across the state of California, everywhere, of course, from San Diego down here in the south, all the way up to Humboldt in the north. And it's really important to note that we have campuses spread out all throughout campus that are very different from one another. Some of them are quite small, others are quite large, and some are right in the middle there. At San Diego State, we have close to about 40,000 students. And at Cal Maritime in Vallejo, just northeast of San Francisco, they have about 1,000 students. So there's a lot of differences with each of the CSUs. I really recommend taking the time to do research on the whole system and on individual campuses, because you'll see that some offer some programs that others may not. And it's all about fit, where you visit, where you see, where you find your campus, which will be your home for the next 4 years. I did want to mention that in the CSU system ourselves, we are 23 campuses strong. As a state-funded institution, we are the largest four-year system of education in the nation. So with 500,000 students, we're the largest state-funded university system across the board in the United States. And we really specialize in applied learning. A lot of our campuses have great programs such as business administration, teaching education, but then applied sciences and applied engineering. So we have a lot of research that happens on our campus, a culture of now biology, biotech, STEM type related focused majors as well, but also humanities, public health in the health center type of programs like nursing. A lot of our campuses have nursing and physical therapy and just so much to offer. So a lot of our campuses have really robust programs in just so many humanities and teacher education, and then administration, criminal justice administration, public administration, city planning, and indeed business administration, which is one of our largest programs at San Diego State. There are so many options for you. And again, not all of them are offered at each CSU. So there are some CSUs which may have architecture, may have animation, may have film or radio sciences or forensic sciences. You can go to one website, which is called calstate.edu, and go on that website, which is where the application is housed, and you can do different searches and see what is available at all the different CSU campuses. I want to talk a little bit about this word impaction that you may hear about, because in the state system, we use the word impaction to really indicate whether or not a specific campus within the state is more popular than others with the volume of applications that we receive. There are 6 CSU campuses indicated on the top right here of your screen that have that consideration called impaction. What that really means is there are minimum GPA requirements you may need to meet, but they're not published ahead of time. It truly is a full application review on more than just your GPA in order to admit you to the campus itself. Now, that may seem pretty intuitive, but as we'll see, we have a lot of campuses that are not impacted. And so you could know a bit more confidently in advance that you would be admitted to those campuses. But Fullerton, Long Beach, San Diego State, San Jose, and then the Cal Poly schools of San Luis Obispo and Cal Poly Pomona, we are all considered impacted, and we have more applications that we receive than we can readily accommodate based on state minimum standards. And please note that even if a campus is not impacted, so we have 17 campuses here on the left-hand side of the screen that are not impacted, but there may be specific programs at these campuses that are impacted. So a great example is at CSU San Marcos. Here in San Diego County, we have CSU San Marcos and we have San Diego State. So we have 2 great CSUs and one San Diego County down here. But the nursing program at San Marcos is impacted. Other programs are not impacted at San Marcos. That means that for all the programs aside from nursing at San Marcos, the campus will accept you based on minimum CSU admission requirements that we'll get into in just a second, but potentially not for nursing. You may need a higher or more competitive profile to be admitted for that program. This is our eligibility index, if you will. Essentially, the main points that you need to have completed by the time you graduate high school in order to be admissible to the CSU system itself, just in general. The first point I want to make is that we are test-free now. So we no longer will consider SAT or ACT exam scores in our review. We don't use it as a benefit or a detriment. So even if you list it, it's not going to have a weight at all on your admissions application. You must be a high school graduate, which we request from your high school really, in the late spring, early summer, to make sure that you actually do have a final transcript and it shows that proof that you graduated from high school. But along the way, you need to make sure that you're completing the A through G college preparation requirements. This is very, very important because you could have a 4.0 GPA, but be missing 1 semester of English or math, and you could be deemed not admissible to the system itself. So very important to make sure that by the time you graduate from high school, you have at least 2 years of history and social sciences, at least 4 years of English, at least 3 years of math. And by 3 years, I really mean through intermediate algebra, so algebra 2, or integrated math 3 if your high school offers that. 2 years of lab science. 1 year would have to be biology or life science. The other year would be physical science, like chemistry or physics. Language other than English for 2 years, and that is proficiency as well. So any of the foreign languages. And then visual and performing arts, a year of that, which is art, music, dance, and theater. And then a year of electives, really anything from that list, just above and beyond the minimums. And those are the minimums. We look at a GPA of at least a 2.5 cumulatively within all of those areas taken from the 10th and 11th grade. So as you're looking at a transcript or perhaps going through all of your grades, in order to be eligible to the system itself, you need to have a 2.5 in your A through G courses that really you've completed to date but not including the ninth grade. If you have between a 2.0 and a 2.49, you still may be admissible based on some other factors that we'll talk about in just a second. So please note that this eligibility is to be minimally qualified to the system itself. Those 6 campuses that we discussed that are impacted, so Fullerton, Long Beach, SDSU, San Jose State, and then Cal Poly SLO and Cal Poly Pomona, we all require above and beyond these things. But to be minimally eligible and to be eligible to the non-impacted CSU campuses, this is what you need. So now a multi-factor admission score. So now on the application for admission, you're going to be listing all of your courses, all of your A through G classes. So what else are we really looking for? In the CSU system, you'll see that we don't have an essay that you have to fill out. There's also not a space for you to do letters of recommendation, and there's very minimal space for you to list your activities or volunteer experience and those type of things. What we really look for is academic proficiency. And specifically at San Diego State, we want to see, and at the Cal Poly schools and at Long Beach, I know, we want to see that you have really challenged yourself in high school and that you're going above and beyond just the minimums. So although, say, there's a 2-year laboratory science requirement, if you want to be an engineer or you're declaring, say, a science major, you really should have more than just 2 years of lab science. We will look at that in the admissions world to see that you are a more competitive applicant based on having more A through G courses, having more college prep courses, and then we do look at weighted courses as well. So if you're in honors or AP classes, that holds a great weight. We also now have a lot of students who are in dual enrollment. So you may be taking classes at a community college while also being in high school, whether it's during the summer or during any regular semester, and that's totally fine too. We do use honors or weighted GPA for the courses that you take as, I don't want to say as a college student because you're still a high school student, but if you're taking college units ahead of time, that's great for both your weighted GPA to get your foot in the door, but then once you're on our university campuses to be used for some of our requirements.
Matthew, can I ask a
Yes,
language other than English question that someone put in the chat?
sure. Yep.
They said their child attended a San Diego Unified School District approved school, but outside her high school to satisfy her foreign language requirements. The school and the classes do appear on her official high school transcript, but the classes, which it's Chinese 1-2 and Chinese 3-4, they do not appear on the drop-down menu. And I assume they're talking about the drop-down menu that's part of CSU application.
Yes.
They've been instructed to enter them under her current high school, but when he performs the A through G check, they don't appear. Instead, it's kind of like a double dash that appears next to the languages. Can you give any guidance on that?
Sure. So the A through G list for each of the high schools, the application will pull only the courses that are offered at the particular high school that you've identified on Cal State Apply, but you can put in numerous high schools attended. So if it is a high school that is outside of the district, even if it's in a different state, or if it was an online school, or even we have some homeschooled students, you could actually type in and do more of a manual input. The catch is once you do that manually, you also need to make sure that you're giving yourself the benefit of the doubt that it will appear as an A through G type of course. I'll get to in just a little bit. There's an actual screen on the application I'll show where it has the drop down of what we call A through G matching. And what that is the computer automatically will go and look to see what's listed at the high school and what you've chosen, and it will put it into the right category for A through G. But any student who is homeschooled or perhaps out of state or has had courses from another country, that's much more of a manual process that unfortunately you have to do it manually, but there's a space where you can actually give yourself the letter F in this case, I mean, not F, E for language other than English, and you can identify that class as an E category, and then it will appear to the campuses. So we'll get more into that in just a few minutes. When we look at just some other supplemental factors that we look at in addition to the A through G. So for some of our campuses, looking at not just overall A through G. So you've met the minimum. We want to see what you've done above and beyond the minimum again for rigor. But we look at individual subjects. So let's say that you want to be a statistics major or a mathematics major, or even something like business or sciences or chemistry. Well, we want to see what you've done for mathematics, see how well you've done there. And we may pick out your GPA just in your math courses, and we may give certain weight to that. And that may give you a little bit of a leg up over another student who may not have as good of a GPA in the math area. We also will look at, are you a first generation student? Are you foster youth? Are you low income? Do you have military service? We also look at where you're going to high school. If you're indicating that you're graduating from a high school here in San Diego, so that's really all of our high schools throughout the county up into State Route 56, kind of like the northern boundary there with Poway and Rancho Penasquitas. If you're going to school in San Diego Unified and Grossmont Union and Sweetwater Union, or at any of the private or charter schools within our area, our local area here, you're given consideration of that as well. We have an incoming class each year of about 40% of our students from the San Diego area, and we want to keep that type of percentage too. So you do get a benefit from graduating from a high school within one of our local areas. If you're from North County or you're from other places in California, we still, of course, want you to apply. You still very well may be admitted, but you don't get that extra consideration as far as the locality of your high school. This is just a quick QR code. Everything I've just talked about. I know this webinar is recorded for you, but that's a QR code you could scan as well, just for getting a quick link to all the freshman admission requirements for the CSU. When you're ready to start your application, and if you're a senior, you know everybody's asking you right now where you're applying, where you're going to go to school for the next year. I know it's come so quickly for you, but you can start to apply now. You have until December 2nd as a priority deadline to file your application. For some of our impacted campuses, such as SDSU, we are closing definitely on December 2nd. So we don't want you to wait to the last minute. I always say make sure your application is in by Thanksgiving at least. Don't wait until those last few days, which a lot of students do. And sometimes there are computer issues or some things outside of your control, and you might be shut out. So you don't want to have to risk that. Make sure that your application is in timely. And that being said, don't rush it either. You don't need to apply today. None of our campuses are first come, first served. We wait till we receive all the applications, and then we make admission decisions really in the winter and in the spring. So take your time with it. We want you to be 100% accurate, but again, don't wait to the last minute. And this is the website for the application. It's one application for all 23 campuses, but also just a whole bunch of information about all the different campuses, programs, and everything you could ever ask for on one website for you. What you definitely need to know before you start your application. We always have students who start it and don't have these things, and then they have to pause, go find them, get them. Here it is, all in one place for you. You need to have a copy of your transcripts. I recommend getting a copy of your unofficial transcript or going through whatever system your high school uses to download that. You also need a copy of your social security number if you have one. Know your citizenship status and know your parent or guardian citizenship status, as well as your family's annual income and size, and then a method of payment. We do honor fee waivers, not the SAT fee waiver, but an embedded fee waiver in the application itself. What does that look for? It looks for your family income and your family size, and it will calibrate immediately if you're eligible for a fee waiver. Financial aid with the FAFSA doesn't open until December. So this information is separate from that. We're asking you for really the very first time, the CSU is now asking you input your family status with your numbers, and we're going to see whether or not a payment is needed. It is a $70 application fee if that's needed. So just make sure you have a credit card or you could pay by PayPal. Also, we will ask you as optional type of things, employment background for your parents, statewide ID. We have an EOP program I'll talk about just very quickly, where we will need some letters of recommendation if you're pursuing that special program. And then test scores, you could still list them on the application, but especially if you've already taken advanced placement or international baccalaureate exams, and you can use those for academic credit, that's always a good thing to have just in your back pocket too. Once you go to calstate.edu/apply and you create an account, the first thing you're going to see is the first questions in your profile that's asking, what level are you? What are you actually interested in? Most of our students are interested in a first bachelor's degree. So either you haven't been to college before, or you're a high school student, or you're a community college transfer student. If you're a graduate student, meaning you've already been to college, you already have your degree, we also have graduate level programs as well. But we'll ask you if you're a community college student or transfer student or graduating from high school. And we also will ask if you're an international applicant. If you are international, and that is if you have a F1 or a J visa, then you're considered international. If you are an undocumented student, that is not international. So you would say no to that question if you do not have documented standing. But that's different. I will say the international question is different between what you may be as far as if you're an F1 international student versus undocumented versus California residency. So there are different questions that you'll see there and different costs if you're an international student, which is why we really ask that, so we can make sure you're not billed that extra amount.
Matthew, can I ask you a slightly related question? It's a little bit more about A through G's, but there's someone here whose nephew is a 12th grader and he's taken 2 years of ESL classes. But does does that count the same as, like, how you have to have 4 years of English? Does ESL count, or how would this person find out more information about English language learners students?
Yes, that's a great question. So we do have some resources on that calstate.edu website. There is an application guide. It's a pretty lengthy guide, but there is a section on the English A through G and how to indicate ESL classes. We do take ESL classes up to a certain point. So your very introductory, like your first and second year, they would count in A through G for English as your kind of stepping stone classes that you would need. But then we also would need you to make sure you're taking, say, English 5-6, or then English literature, or those more advanced English classes as well. So some students have, we've seen ESL all the way through, and then those students would need to double load up on the A through G verified English classes, but some of them would be approved if you've had some. And this is our ad program page, where you can do a big search by campus name or perhaps by program, and you can indicate all of the different CSU campuses you're interested in, the different programs. So on the left-hand side here, where these pluses are, you're just simply hitting the plus, and that means that you're starting an application for that particular campus. But you can indicate as many as 23 different campuses. All of our campuses, all of the open programs will be on this one ad program page to the website. So you can literally go through pages and pages and find different programs for different CSUs. Remember, you're filling out information really at one time for one big application, but in this kind of introductory program page, we're asking you to select all the different ones that you're interested in, that you actually want to have the application then sent to, which campuses you want it sent to. And if you do this, if you only select one campus and one program, submit your application, that's fine. You can always come back to this and add more at a later time. And this is what our application really looks like. It's really divided into a quadrant. So you have 4 different boxes here, and you just need to complete the different sections in each of the different boxes. The first one here is just personal information, and then we ask you to input your academic history, and then any supporting information that we may have, or in program materials, any additional questions we may have specific to a program that you've indicated your interest. Just a couple things here on the personal information tile. For your parent guardian information, we do ask if it's okay for permission for us to also communicate with your parents. So if, say, we send a reminder that your transcript is due, we could also send that to a parent's email address that you could be prompted for if you give us permission to do that as well. Very important as well to enter in accurate financial and parental information, because this is going to be used for our fee waiver determination. So that's part of this field as well, and as well as the household income. And then for academic history, there's really a lot of different things to go through. We could, spend a couple going step by step here through each of them, but just very, very quickly, it is a smart text type of thing. So for all of the California high schools, as long as you're entering in what the high school name is, it will have a smart text as you're typing to recognize what courses are actually approved for A through G, and it will come up right for you. And then just make sure that you're able to indicate all of your 4 years. Some students do not indicate the 12th grade in your senior year. That's very important to indicate. Even though you don't have grades yet, you still must list your entire 12th grade, but instead of grades, you list them as in progress or planned. We always have a handful of students who just don't list their 12th grade each year, and you definitely need to do so. And this is the screen I was referring to before, as far as the A through G matching screen. So once you're done entering in all your classes, you'll be taken to this screen, and it will tell you if you're deficient in any of these categories. So for this particular student, we've checked off everything. We have 2 years of the social science. We have 4 years of math, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 2 years of science, but one is bio, the other is a physical science, 2 years of a language other than English, and then even 2 years of a visual performing arts, so above and beyond just that 1 year requirement. It also calculates your GPA for the grades that you've entered in. So that's also a great feature, so you know what your GPA is. And then supporting information is where we house our educational opportunity program. If you're a first generation student, we encourage you to apply for EOP. All 23 of our campuses offer it. It's an amazing support program with individualized advisors. Also, potentially some grant money that comes to you in the form of an EOP scholarship to help fund your education. And we will ask for an essay and letters of recommendation, but only if you're interested in being part of this program. We will ask you if you've been part of AVID or Upward Bound or other type of programs. And guess what? CalSOAP can count for that too. So you just want to indicate that you've been part of other. And we know that you then are part of an educational support program. That means that you've been getting this support and you've been active in your college search and actually trying to get the information you need for college advisement and college planning, which is great to see. We always want to see that on the application as well. Lastly, program materials will just be where in this last quadrant, we have individual questions that we as a campus may ask you, or the major that you've identified would ask you as well. And then please, please, please review your application with the fine-tooth comb. Once you submit the application, we cannot make any academic corrections. We can do things like address corrections, or if you mistyped your social security number. We don't like having to do those because it does take a lot of follow-up and back and forth and time on your part and on my part. We're going to ask you to fax in documentation, driver's license, all that stuff. But so make sure you take your time and you're as accurate as possible. But I can't stress that enough, that after you submit the application, your academic classes here cannot change. We will not take a change to your application. And here is where you will see the submit page. In this instance, the student has a fee waiver. And so where the student is eligible to have that $70 fee waived. And this is what that screen would look like. I know 30 minutes goes by really fast just going through all of these things here. So I know I'm coming up on time. So just very quickly, a lot of resources for you. Again, on the Cal State website, and you can get links to so many different do's and don'ts and those kind of things. These are my kind of personal do's and don'ts as well. Don't start your application late. avoid the stress of having to submit it at the last minute. Just make sure really that you're going through each and everything to make sure that you're entering everything completely. Don't do it from memory. Don't leave out your in-progress courses. So a bunch of different tips for you. And again, this video is being recorded, so it will be shared with you too. And very, very quickly, just some SDSU specific stuff for you. I had mentioned our local area where we give special consideration to students from San Diego Unified, from Grossmont, from Sweetwater, and from other high schools throughout the region here. This is kind of our geographic line here. We're very big, as a word of caution. Your senior year, you have to maintain the GPA that really you've established as a high school student. It's very, very important to not get any deficient grades in your senior year. D's and F's, if we see that at the end of the day on your admission application, you could very well be admitted based on what you've submitted with the application. But then when we get your transcript, if we see a D in your senior year, it's very likely that your admission would be revoked. So please, no D's or F's the senior year. And I wanted to mention that we have a very, very large community college transfer population at San Diego State as well. We have a lot of students who go to Mesa College, Grossmont, Southwestern, all of our local area community colleges, and indeed, there's 114 community colleges in the state of California. Going that route, you'd have to do 2 years first there. So essentially, you're completing your first year and your second year of college education at a community college, but then we do have some guaranteed programs for you that you could transfer to San Diego State and be guaranteed admission. Again, our important dates here, we opened up October 1 for the application. We close on December 2nd. We make admission decisions in the spring. May 1st is ultimately your commit deadline, when every university that you've applied to that you are admitted to is going to ask you whether or not you're committing to us. So May 1st is our commit deadline, and then transcripts are due at that time. And then once again in the summer to make sure that you actually graduated from your high school. Here's our email address, and then a great contact for you. Just go to admissions.sdsu.edu/contact. It will give you all of our information for if you need to call us on the phone, if you need to physically visit and you want to do a tour and see what our office hours are. And then we also have virtual services too. So we're available by email, we're available by phone, we're available in person, and we're available by Zoom for certain hours during the day. And if you're an international student, then we have a special international address for you with admission counselors who specialize in international admissions and can walk you through the process, because it is a little bit different for you with potentially some courses outside of the United States and outside of the state. So Carla, thank you so much for having me. Were there any final questions I could answer?
There are none that I'm going to have you address out loud. If you have a couple minutes, if you want to look in the Q&A at the answered questions and make sure that I answered them correctly, just to make sure that I did. But other than that, that is all. And I thank you so much for your time. So
Great.
while
Thank you,
Matthew
everybody.
takes a look at some of the Q&As, I'm going to introduce Summer, and she is here from UC San Diego admissions. And so she's going to share about UC. And Summer, are you able to share your slide deck okay, if you have one?
Yes, I do have one. I should be able to share my screen. Yeah, it looks like I can okay. Before I
Okay.
do though, thank you so much. Yes, hi everyone. My name is Summer. I'm an admissions officer here at UC San Diego. It's so nice to meet all of you virtually. Something so convenient about the CSU and the UC system, we do like to think of them as sister systems. So a lot of the things that Matthew talked about are actually going to be very similar to the UC system. One really, really nice thing is we have the same deadline. So the application deadline is the same with that December 2nd for the 2025 cycle. Before I start sharing my slides, they are kind of really content heavy and specific to the UC application system as a whole. So before I lose anyone in the details, I do want to share UC San Diego's Contact Us form. This is going to be a really great place if you do come across any specific questions that are like case-by-case scenario for you. Maybe you're unsure about A through G or any kind of requirements. You can go ahead, even if it's a kind of a general UC question, feel free to contact UC San Diego with that. So I am going to put that in the chat. And I'm going to try to leave a couple of minutes at the end if I can, so we can answer some questions, but I'll go ahead and start sharing my slides. I think I shared the wrong screen. Yes, here we go. Okay, do you see a big yellow screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you. And let me move that over, awesome. So, presenting yourself on the UC application. Preparing to apply. The application portal is open now. If you or your student are a senior in high school and you're looking to enroll in fall 2025, go ahead if you haven't already created your UC application portal. Similar to the CSU system, it is one application for all of the UCs. So you enter all your information and then you get to select as many UCs as you'd like to apply to. We do highly recommend that students apply to more than one, especially all the UCs that they are interested in. This will increase your chances in being admitted to at least one of your preferred UCs. Little map here with all the different campuses. You know, we're down here all the way in San Diego. We have UC Irvine and UC Riverside close by, and we go all the way up north to UC Merced and UC Davis. Awesome. So it is a year-long application. We only have one admission cycle. Students cannot apply for a spring semester. It is only for fall. With that being said, there is no early admission decisions. Do not rush your application process. If you are applying for this cycle, I would recommend starting your application. You don't have to be ready to submit it today. It will let you save your progress along the way. I'll get into some tips and tricks later on in the presentation, but a couple of things to keep in mind that's unique to the UC application. There is a PIQ, the Personal Insight Question section. These are short answer essays, and we do highly recommend that you save them to maybe like a Google Drive or a Word doc as you're working on your essays. If you do stay on the application portal for too long, it'll time out and kind of erase your work. So we'd hate for students to kind of miss out if they don't save their work somewhere else. We have kind of the same timeline as the CSU system. The deadline is going to be December 2nd. Also, please do not wait till the last minute. Get your stuff in kind of again by that Thanksgiving timeline. And then maybe you're double checking that everything is correct and accurate. Once you submit that application, you cannot make any changes, with the exception to maybe your email or contact information. So please don't rush. There's no brownie points if you submit it on October 1st. So be sure to take your time with it. FAFSA deadline coming up December and March 2nd, or opens December and is due March 2nd. First year decisions come out in March with the deadline to accept your offer on May 1st. And then July 1st is the deadline to submit official transcripts. Kind of like our CSU sister system says, to have those unofficial transcripts handy as you're filling out your application. It's going to be really important that you submit your materials as accurately as possible. You're going to want to make sure you're very thorough in reporting your coursework, your academic history, activities, awards, any work experience, community service. We do verify these records, and unfortunately, if a student does kind of misrepresent information, their admission status can be canceled. So please make sure you're doing your due diligence and double checking that you are reporting things accurately. Awesome. So a little bit of information before you apply. I'm going to drop just these two links into the chat. The chat box disappeared. Here we go. And I'm also now seeing that contact us form did not get shared to the chat. So let me reshare that contact us form. You should have access to it now. That's the third link. Feel free to chat in your questions. You can also call our admissions or any UC's admissions office if you do have more questions. And someone should be able to connect with you during business hours. Sorry, Carla, I saw that you turned your camera on. But yeah, I think we're good with that link in the chat now that people can see. But yes, okay, before you apply, we do have helpful information on those two links that I shared that are next to each other. One is going to be on just admissions information, and the second is going to be on the UC application. So some helpful information there. So first-year admissions, first-year students are you who are coming from high school. You must complete the 15 A through G courses, and for minimum admissions, earn a 3.0 or better. For non-California residents, a 3.4. This is going to be important to note that this is just the minimum. Many students who are applying are far exceeding the minimum, and that the minimum requirement does not guarantee you admission into a UC. Some factors that we do consider, so we do review applications on a holistic review basis. So everything's going to have the equal weight when we are considering admitting students. Every UC is going to have kind of different factors that they're looking at, but they're all still reviewing it on a holistic review. So things like the applicant pool, where you are applying from. I love to tell students that if your high school offers AP and IB, we do want to see that you're challenging yourself to those courses. However, if you're maybe in a more small town or rural area and you don't have access to those types of programs, this is not going to be held against you. We are specifically looking at your application from your applicant pool. With that being said, other important factors are going to be your extracurricular activities, your academic factors, so your GPA, the completion of those A through Gs, and your specific GPA in those A through Gs. We also still want to see that you are challenging yourself in your senior year. If you took AP classes your sophomore and junior year, did you continue to take the same amount of academic rigor in your senior year? Contextual factors, again, we are looking at things from a holistic review perspective. So kind of what you share with us is how we will review your application. We're not going to make any assumptions if you leave out information. And then those personal insight questions are a really big factor as well. Okay, some other factors, academic achievement. So your ELC honors program, special projects, any personal school or family contacts, special talents, skills, and awards, and then your life experiences and special circumstances. So to create, I hope you've already created your UC portal. If not, go ahead and sign up today. Again, you don't have to be ready to submit it to start an account. You will need an email address that you frequently use. Make sure you keep your password handy, as you'll probably be logging in and out of this account very frequently. The application is going to ask you what year you are applying as, if you were coming in as a transfer student or a first-year student. It's going to be important that you accurately click this button, as it changes what information is required on the next parts of the application. Awesome. So a good tip is to not try to complete your application in one sitting. It is very detailed, and there are a lot of different sections. So the About You section, picking your campuses and your majors, academic history, that's where you list every single one of your classes, your test scores, activities and awards. Maybe you have any scholarships or support programs that you were a part of, those PIQs that we talked about. And then there is a review button that will kind of help you make sure you didn't miss anything before you submit it. Something that I do just want to mention is for the test scores, we are also test free, similar to the CSUs. We do not accept ACT or SATs as a part of the admissions process. So the only time a student may want to report an SAT or ACT score is only to fulfill English proficiency requirements for our international students who did not take high school coursework in English. Their language of instruction was not in English. Okay, so a little bit about the About You section. It's going to ask if you have a lived name. If you do not, just make sure you're not entering your legal name twice. Only enter that information if you do have a lived name. It's going to ask about citizenship and residency status. There'll be some information to see if you qualify for the UC application fee waiver. If you do qualify, you'll be able to apply to up to 4 UCs for free. It's going to ask you about your parent information, contact information. If you'd like for your parents to receive updates and reminders from the UC campuses, they can do that as well. It will not share any like personal information that's against FERPA. So anything that is like admissions, submissions, or like your admission status won't be shared with your parents. It's only shared with students. Awesome. So we do have more information on the application about your residency status and how you'll be considered for tuition purposes. I can share a link in the chat. Maybe after I finish the slides, I can look it up and paste it, but it's just the UC residency for tuition purposes. Your residency for tuition purposes and your residency status can all be different, depending on kind of if you're meeting those requirements. So there's just some questions here on the UC application that helps kind of guide those to see if you'll need to answer more questions about it later. We also have information for our undocumented students. If you choose yes, when asked if you would like to be evaluated for California residency for tuition purposes, it's going to open up more boxes for that as well. And then there's some more information for special circumstances, non-residential supplement tuition exemptions, and tuition waivers. Awesome. So a little bit about our campuses and majors. Each UC has different strengths and unique environments. So applying to more than one campus will increase your chances of being admitted to a UC and finding that campus that's right for you. It's not a one shoe fits all. It's going to be every campus has their different kind of qualities and strengths. UC San Diego's very popular one is that we are on the beach. A lot of students will say that's one of the reasons they chose. I wanted to go to class in the morning and surfing in the evening, or vice versa. So that's a fun fact about us. Another fun fact about UC San Diego, we are a Tier 1 research institute. So it's a huge draw for our students who are interested in pursuing research during their undergraduate studies. Students can get involved within their very first quarter, especially for students who are maybe considering graduate school as well. Awesome. So when you are on the application and you are trying to choose a major, you will first click your campus, and then on the application, it'll either have you choose your major by using the college button or the category button. The college is if you already know, okay, I know psychology is in social science, you'll go ahead and click on that college and then click on psychology. Whereas the category option, go ahead and list out every single available major. If you are not seeing the major that you are interested in, maybe for that university, that major might be closed. You can see that if you click this Show Closed Majors button, it'll show you the ones that have been removed from that list. You won't be able to apply to them if they are on that closed list. It'll just show you. That way you're not spending hours kind of scrolling and searching for it. Okay, so on the UC application, students are able to select an alternative major with the exception of UCLA. For UCLA, students can only pick one major. So for all the other UCs, you pick your primary major of interest and your alternative major. For UC San Diego, we do tell students to choose if they are interested in a selective major. Other schools might call this a capped or impacted major. We highly recommend that for your alternative major, you're choosing a major that is not selective, that's not capped. So just a little fun fact to keep out for. And then alternative major should be a subject that you are interested in studying. You could be admitted for your alternative major, so just keep that in mind when you're selecting your second choice. Okay, we're getting through it really well. Lots of information here. So some supplemental applications might be required depending, it's going to vary from campus to campus and from program to program. So for example, in our picture here, this biomedical BS MD program requires a supplemental application. It'll go ahead and let you know once you select that major that there is an alternative step that you have to take to complete a separate application. All right. One more fun fact about UC San Diego, we do have the college system. We have 8 colleges that you can choose from on campus. I like to think of it as the housing system. Some people kind of make a metaphor to Harry Potter, where everyone's kind of assigned to their house. At UC San Diego, you rank your preferred college. From the 8, each college is going to have a different philosophy, different traditions and events, and then very specific to that college general education requirements. That's where they're going to vary. Some students will rank their colleges based off preference of where they want to live on campus. It is especially popular for first-year students to live on campus within their college. And then the second main reason for students choosing a specific college is going to be those general education requirements. We do tell you to please make sure that you are being very thoughtful when you are ranking your college. These are not used for an admissions decision. They are just used once you are admitted to UC San Diego. We use your ranking to assign you to your college. And we do consider how you rank your colleges. So if you're just kind of throwing anything out there and you get assigned to your first choice, you won't be able to switch that later. So do make sure you're kind of paying attention to that. All right, the academic history section. So here's where you're going to start listing all of the schools you've attended and all of your coursework. Since you're ninth grade, if you or maybe were a student abroad, and ninth grade is considered middle school, we do recommend or we do ask you to still list that. It's going to ask you what your school's grading system is, if it was A, B, C, D, F, or maybe 0 through 100. Maybe you were in an IB program. It's going to ask you the dates that you attended that school and for what grades. And then important grades and coursework. And then you can import your grades and coursework, sorry. So you can also use this SSID. It should hopefully work now, I believe is the first cycle where it might, if you put in your California SSID, that it might automatically import your classes. If not, unfortunately, you'll still have to list them one by one. So again, don't wait to start your application. It is kind of very detailed and you want to give yourself as much time as possible so you're not rushing at the end. And I kind of skip through some of this. Okay, test score. So for international students, the English language proficiency exam is required if your school the language of instruction was not in English. At UC San Diego, we accept the TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo, and then if you decide to choose to use your ACT or SAT scores, depending if your score meets the requirements, every UC is going to have different requirements for those scores, so check out their individual pages. But that is the only time that you would be able to use an SAT or ACT score is for the English language proficiency. Whew, almost there, guys. Activities and awards. So we do want you to list your activities and awards. Students can enter up to 20. You don't have to pressure yourself to fill out every single one. But if you have over 20, do make sure you are selecting the ones that you feel are most important that tell your story as a student.
Summer, can I ask a quick question? Someone's
Yeah.
asking, can you import courses from out-of-state high schools and or private boarding schools?
So it might not be so convenient to enter an ID where it automatically imports, but you will want to include that information on the application. There should be an option for you to type out your high school that you attended. If it doesn't automatically populate, what you'll do is you'll finish typing out the entire name of your high school. And then once you get to the end of it, there should be an add button. Yeah, great question. So these next slides are just kind of screenshots of what the application looks like for the awards and activity section. Different educational prep programs. If you did partake in any of these, highly recommend that you don't forget to include them on your application. Okay, and then the next section is scholarship and support programs. So for the UC system, you can apply for scholarships directly within the application by selecting those which match your characteristics, interests, and background. You can explore scholarship options by category, and you may select as many options for consideration as you choose. Something unique I'm actually not 100% sure if it's all the UCs, but UC San Diego, I can definitely say this. The financial aid office actually looks at your UC application and your FAFSA information and will automatically qualify students for certain merit-based and need-based aid. So that's super handy. And you can still, on top of that, apply for other scholarships as well. We also have support programs like EOP that our sister school CSU mentioned. So you can indicate your interest in 2 of the UC's many support programs. So Educational Opportunity Program, UC Foster Youth Program. So there's just a section on the application where you can indicate that as well. Awesome, almost at the end here. So for our personal insight questions, I like to tell students you can think of these as interview questions. They're just a way to get to know you more personally. Students will choose 4 out of the 8 questions. All of the questions hold equal value. There's not one or more that we kind of give special preference to. They are short answers, so they're only 350 words per essay. Just focus on your content and telling the story of answering your question. Your grammar and spelling are not things that are going to be used for admissions decisions. Although it is helpful to receive feedback maybe from a parent or a teacher, you don't want your grammar and spelling to be so distracting that it kind of pulls away from the main content of your essay, but don't be stressed about it as far as admissions decisions. And then your PIQs may also be used for scholarship consideration as well. Okay, submitting the application. Before you submit your application, make sure you take your time to review each section. Again, once submitted, you cannot make any updates. There will be a review feature that tells you if there's any missing information. So that's super helpful as you're going through it. And then it'll ask you to submit your payment as the final step before you submit your application. Make sure you check your application ID, the date that you submitted, that you have your payment method confirmed, and that you got a confirmation email that your application was submitted. Awesome. So lastly, our resources here. If you have any questions for the UC application, you can contact the UC info at applyucsupport.net, or you can call the application center. So that's if you're having any issues, like maybe technical issues, they'll really help you kind of resolve those so that you can submit your application on time. That's another really good reason to kind of aim for that Thanksgiving timeframe. Maybe you are coming across a technical issue and you have to contact support. You don't want to be waiting till December 1st, kind of nervous that you're not going to be able to submit it on time. And then we do have general admission information, UC admission requirements, selection process, and filling out the application. These links are all going to kind of repeat that information that I shared. I know it's being recorded, so feel free if you would like to scan that QR code now. You can access these resources, or if you'd like to take a screenshot or watch the recording later as well. These are going to be very helpful links for our students. And then you can see each UC campus individually, broken down here: UC Berkeley, Davis, Irvine, UCLA, Merced, Riverside, San Diego, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz. If you're asking why you don't see UC San Francisco on there, that is because they are a graduate school only. With that, thank you so much for your time. We have 3 minutes remaining. I got through the slides okay to kind of see if I can answer some of these questions here.
So I don't see any unanswered ones in the Q&A right now, but we'll give just a minute. So if anyone does have a question specific to UC admissions, hopefully they
Amazing.
will enter that, and we'll give that just a second. But if you want to look at the answered ones, you can see any that I answered. Some of them are for CSU, some of them are for UC. So far, not seeing any new ones in the Q&A. Perhaps someone is typing furiously right now. We'll give them a moment.
And if you are that someone and say we actually get out of time, you can always contact. Each UC will have their own admissions office, but you can use that contact us form for UC San Diego if you have any specific questions, or if you have any technical issues, that link that we shared earlier as well.
All right. Well, seeing as there are no further questions in the Q&A, I would like to thank everybody for taking time out to attend this tonight, and very much so thank you to Summer. And Matthew has already logged out, but thank you for being here and giving us the information. And we really appreciate it. And I wish everybody good luck in their college applications, whether it's to a CSU, a UC, or anywhere else. You know, a lot of good luck, and we're here to support you. If you have questions, please, you have my email address, the kkwhitaker@ucsd.edu, and feel free to ask me. Oh, wait, we do have one question. If the San Diego Unified School District transcript has all courses, do we need to request an out-of-state transcript? So if it appears on their current one, but they took it out of state.
So I'll answer this question.
Okay.
For CSU, I believe they have the same policy as we have. We don't actually take, this will only be for when you submit an official transcript, which is after you're admitted. There's no official transcripts needed for the application process, but we don't take any rollover credit. So if you attended a different high school, we'll need both official transcripts from the out-of-state school, even if it's listed on your current high school. Hopefully that answers.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you and good night, everybody. As I mentioned, as of, I believe tomorrow on calsupsandiego.org, we'll be listing this recording, and I'll also request the slide decks from the presenters. If they're able to share them, I will share those on our blog as well. So thank you, everybody, and good night. Thanks, Summer.